What's up, fans, gamers alike? This is Josh Rockstark, and today I want to talk about the meta of Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Now, when I say meta, I don't want to make too much of a big deal out of it because it's very different than a meta from another game like, let's say, League of Legends, or a meta from a fighting game like Smash Bros. It's almost like very loose when it comes to this game because there are so little factors that make the characters that are in it the way they are, as opposed to something like Smash Bros, where characters have completely different moves and they work differently. There's different, like, very advanced mechanics in the game. So I don't want to get too hung up on the word meta, but I do want to talk about the factors that make the online experience and racing in general the way it is. Now, we're all familiar with the 4 stat classes of Crash Team Racing that were in the original game and carried over to this very faithfully. And of course, we have the balanced class, which has a balanced stat spread amongst speed, acceleration, and turning. Then we have the Excel stat pattern, which focuses more on acceleration while having sort of a midway speed and turning. Then we've got the speed class, which focuses on, of course, speed, and its acceleration is middle of the way and its turning very low compared to its other stats. Then we've got the handling class, which has immaculate turning, great acceleration, and sort of less than ideal speed. Not as bad, but like less than ideal. And these 4 classes make up the CTR meta. These are the 4 options you have when you're picking your character and jumping in online. Well, these 4 stats that are in the game don't tell the whole story of the meta, because in reality, something that has carried over from the original game as well that a lot of people do not know about is that these stats that are presented to us are fake, and the real stats breakdown is in fact this. After testing, after lots of people spending painstaking hours and calculating variables, these are the real stats that are presented in CTR, and these stats tell the story of the meta, and on top of a couple other factors that we're going to talk about. The 2 best characters that mostly everybody tends to use online are the Excel classes at the very top, followed right under by the speed classes. And as you can see by the stat distributions, they sort of tell you that these are the 2 to use. More so the Excel than the heavy, but we'll get into that right in a second. So with the Excel classes, you have very good speed, and you have immaculate acceleration to the max, and very decent turning after all. The Excel is more the ideal class to use because they have a very, very good stat distribution overall, and people tend to use that class when it comes to time trials, when it comes to playing online, when it comes to just racing in general, because they're very versatile. The second best class in the game, which is the speed class, and this class has certain variables that just make this class the second best class or second most used, or just completely dominate in certain tracks, especially ones that require less turning, less tight turns to worry about. The speed class just dominates, not only because they have max speed, but because their turning is so low that when you are snaking on straightaways, you don't drift too far to the left and you don't drift too far to the right. So you can basically turn sideways and continue to practically go straight. And that's what makes them so good at tracks that have huge straightaways, because it's a combination of their speed and their ability to snake across the track with ease. And now we get to the 2 least used, or in my opinion, the worst classes in the game, and that's the balanced class and the handling class. Let's start with the balance class. Well, as you can see, according to this, they're not really balanced, are they? The balance class arguably has the worst stat distributions in terms of overall points, and really it's the class that suffers a lot. It's got great turning, sure, but the acceleration is sort of middle of the road, which we'd sort of expect from a balance class, but the speed is a lot worse. And when you compare the balance class real distribution compared to the distribution that's shown in-game, it's completely different. The speed is way less, the acceleration is a little bit less, and the turning is just a little bit more. And this stat distribution is not helping the class at all. Sure, you can take turns tighter, and it helps when you're racing maybe tracks like Electron Avenue or Tiny Arena where you need to take the turns tighter, but the class lacks speed, it lacks the ability to snake, and it doesn't have the same acceleration to take off when you get hit or when you're trying to recover from something. I think that the handling class is sort of working against itself, especially when you consider the lack of speed that characters like Polar, Pura, Real Velo, etc. that they have, because they lack a lot of speed, and a lot of courses, once you figure out the tricks to turning each turn, you lack a lot of speed to pull you up to the front, and you get smacked a lot by the Excel racers and the heavy racers online. Sure, you've got a lot of turning to help you, but in the end, when you start learning these tracks and what race lines you want to take, you won't need as much turning as this class offers, and you're gonna need the speed instead. There's a reason why pros pick characters like Coco and Tiny over Polar and Crash, because those classes offer the best experience for you online. I know that I'm missing some variables when I'm talking about this stuff, like player skill or the track that you are racing on, but I feel like some of these stats need to be redistributed because they are not doing any favors for the class. And I think that the meta is being dominated by Excel characters and heavy characters, and in order to sort of, let's say, compete, I know this game's not a competitive game, but people do take it seriously, and I feel like in order to compete, those two classes at the bottom, the balanced and the handling class, do need a bit of a change. I know they were trying to stick true to the original, and that's why these stats are like this as well, because they were like this in the original, but I do think these classes are lacking for this online experience, for this racing experience, because people are using the other two because they offer a lot more. Just my thoughts on the game itself and the meta. I have been enjoying a ton of online play, and I haven't really been making a lot of content and videos just simply because I am hooked on this game and I am enjoying it thoroughly. Having said that, my name is Josh Rockstark. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this gave you guys a little bit of perspective on the online experience right now, and if you like the content, subscribe. My name is Josh Rockstark, and peace out.